Hey Jose.
Hey, Ryan.
So this is Torchlight 3. Have you ever heard of Diablo?
Vaguely, yes.
Vaguely?
I say vaguely, yes, I've heard of Diablo.
Okay, do you know what Diablo is?
Isn't it like a... For some reason, I'm like, Darksiders? Question mark? I don't know.
No,
I really don't.
not really like Darksiders. Have you heard of Path of Exile?
Minecraft Dungeons.
Minecraft Dungeons. You have played Minecraft Dungeons. Good job. Um, so Minecraft Dungeons. So you have different classes at the start of that, right? You can
Yeah.
pick between. I don't really know if they're really all that different in Minecraft Dungeons, but nonetheless, you have different classes. This is that game. It's essentially a Diablo-like. This is Torchlight 3 in that, like, I think Torchlight 1 came out back in, like, I don't remember exactly when, but probably around like 2010. It was during the 360 era, so like Xbox 360. And then Torchlight 2, I think, also came out during the 360 era. And then Torchlight 3, being this one, came out. I don't remember exactly when. I haven't done a lot of research on it. But it wasn't. It was quite some time after Torchlight 2, is how I'll put it. It came out, I think, during like the Xbox One generation, before the Series X and Series XS and all that kind of stuff came out. And so, anywho, this game isn't all that different from those kind of games. Like, you've got a hub world, you go around, you talk to people, some of them will have things to say, some of them will give you quests, some of them will be merchants for you to sell stuff to or otherwise buy different pieces of equipment. I don't really know who at this point Torchlight 3 would have been for, even when it did come out. You can play these games multiplayer, much like you could a Minecraft Dungeons or a Diablo or something along those lines. And like back in the day when like the original Torchlight came out and like Torchlight 2 would have come out, it made more sense because there wasn't a console version of Diablo, and Minecraft Dungeons obviously didn't exist at the time.
I mean, hey.
So back in the day, this was essentially your only way to play a Diablo-like game on a console, was to essentially play one of these. And they were good for what it was worth. They weren't super long or they weren't super complicated. And similarly, you can build up a class, like choose a class at the beginning. In this case, I've chosen I think a rail master, which means I can build a train that follows me around like a pet. How do I do it is the question. There we go. So I can build a train that follows me around like a pet, that you can pick what goes onto the train, like different cars of the train. So right now I've got a turret, a Tesla coil, and like a mortar that you can all activate at your own leisure to attack enemies and stuff. And so I would say that is an interesting like design for a class, honestly. Like I liked the idea of it, as opposed to like, I typically like classes in a game that let me just build like a turret or have a bunch of pets to do all the work for me. And so this is kind of that example of like having a turret or having a pet, but you get to essentially pick the kit of the pet, and that you can choose what goes on to the train.
So I noticed that crow following you. Is that like a familiar?
That is a literal pet.
Oh.
So like you can choose pets. Let me see here. Again, I haven't played this in a while. Harpy, and that is the inventory of my Harpy Eagle. Let me see here. No, don't know what I'm doing there. Oh, fudge. Kills, map, contract. It's a pet. It's equipped. You can change your pet. Where is it at? Your pet can have a different ability. I've got like 3 or 4 pets already, and I'm only level 6. They can be a dog, they can be a bird, they can be apparently an alpaca. Could be a lot of different things. And they do have a lot of different little systems going on, in that like you can have these relic skills that can interact with one another, and then you can have let me see here. And so like if you have legendary items, you can equip the legendary items, and kind of like, how do I put it, if you don't have the item equipped, you can take the effect of that legendary item and have that equipped, if that makes any sense. So like if there's like a legendary, so like what it says here, fire starter is a literal weapon. But as you can see, I'm not using it. I have a hammer in my hands. And so by virtue of that, because Firestarter was a legendary weapon, I can equip its effects, if that makes any sense at all.
It does, but like how?
Right here, I just equip it as an effect. So like if I had, Firewall, I could equip that instead, or Frenzy's Blade, I could equip that instead. And these would all give me different, passive buffs, is how I would put it. So like hit with a basic attack, gain Frenzy, so on and so forth. And so that I would think is an interesting mechanic to have for a game like this, and that it kind of lets you keep things from certain builds, even though you may not like the item or need the item, or the item doesn't work for your class, given that's a sword and I have a hammer or whatever.
Is multi-classing like allowed?
Not that I'm aware of. And then like I think for most classes you're gonna have like 3 different trees that you can specify, like spec into. And so like right now I've just been primarily specking into Conductor, given that focuses on my train, whereas you could be specking into Blood Drinker, which I believe is purely like when you start the game, you have the option of picking different relic like skill sets. So Blood Drinker is like a vampiric effect where like the more damage you're doing, you're healing, obviously. And there was like an ice and effect where it like slowed enemies down and debuffed them, and there's like fire effects which make you do more damage, and I think like rage effects. And so I picked the Blood Drinker one, just I don't know, it seemed interesting at the time. And then this I think is more focused on the class's specific like melee attacks and stuff rather than the train itself. And so you could be putting points into any one of these 3 trees, yeah. But you're going to be putting in like multiple points to one thing. Like as you can see here, I've got 3 points into build train, and I just have to keep, like I can continue to put points into that or into my other ones or whatever the case may be. But as you can see, I only have 70 total skill points from the looks of it, and so that's where I go. Like I don't know how hard you can spec in any one direction, because I don't, if I can put about, let me see, 10 total skill points into one individual skill from the looks of it, that means I can essentially get this whole tree maxed out, but I would have literally nothing in this tree and would have literally nothing in this tree.
What is Slammer?
Again, I think this is just mostly more like melee. Yeah, it's more like melee based. Like there's a stun there, and then let me see, vulnerability, movement speed buff. It seems like you're just turned into more of like a bruiser or a brawler, as opposed to, as opposed to being more train based. But as I was saying, like you kind of just head around and you'll have quests to do. And so like right now I've got go to Firebelly Village and a tutorial mission apparently. And I think, God, I don't even know how to find any of this stuff at this point. Let me kill these guys a little bit. So like, oh God, let me see here. How do I get back to that?
So is the blue sigils like the campfires?
This thing here?
Yes.
It just allows me to teleport in directly, but I think at any time there's a button, where you can literally just create your own portal from where you're standing at any given time and go back there. So like this is me, instead of using that, I can just go back to my fort or go back to, that hub world. So this is what I was talking about. This is my fort or home, as you could look at it. And you can build whatever you want in here. So I kind of just cleared the entire thing out, and if you wanted, you could literally come in here and go, okay, I'm going to build this. Bam. I'm going to build this. Bam. I'm going to build these. Bam. And you just keep going. You can rotate them.
Does your fort ever get attacked?
Not that I'm aware. I think this is just, so like when you think about like crafting and a lot of different stuff, you can do all of that from your fort. And so like you can come back here and I don't even know, because there's these monuments that I think you can feed stuff to and will grow in some form or a way. Yeah, sacrificing items or currencies will improve the monument for greater account-wide bonuses. And then, like, you can come to your workshops and you can upgrade certain things. You can come back here and create stone blocks for some reason. Come back here and create wood logs for some reason, which I imagine might be relevant to crafting other things and so on and so forth. Come over here and, you know, change up your look, so that way you can, you know, what do you want to call it? Fashion souls it, or whatever the case may be.
Would you need to pay for cosmetics? I
imagine so. Like, it kind of had gold there to, like, I guess choose what you wanted your weapon to look like, or whatever the case may be. And you have a shared stash, which ultimately is like, if you have multiple characters, I think this will be the inventory for all your characters, like an MMO, if you have like an account-wide thing. And so, really, like, I don't really think there's much more to talk about or show for this, because there's just kind of not. It's a fairly straightforward game if you know anything about Diablo-esque kind of video games, or in this case, Minecraft dungeon-esque video game. In that you're gonna have like a bunch of attacks that you can set up on various buttons, and you can build your character out in a very RPG-like way, so on and so forth.
Is there looting?
When you say looting, what do you mean? Like if you kill a guy,
can you look and see what they found them, or is it just something that
No, I mean, like, they'll drop stuff very occasionally. Well, not even very occasionally. They'll drop stuff. So, like, right there's a green club or something. So they, like, things will get dropped. Let's see here. I didn't build my train, did I?
No. Yeah, what happened to your train? Do you have to build it every time you spawn in?
I believe so, yeah. There we go, there's my train. There we go. The train take care of them. But yeah, I mean, like, this really is kind of the gist of it. Like, you'll have an overworld, and like, which is essentially what we're walking through here, and then there's different areas in that overworld. There'll be chests and things along those lines that you can open to get gold or various items, or whatever the case may be. There's these little shrines, I believe, which will give you like a temporary buff while you're running around. So, like, right now, I think I run faster. Same idea as many other things. Let me see. Another treasure chest. Ranged weapons, so I got a revolver there. Let me see. I think, like, you can do things in the environment, like chop down trees and stuff to harvest wood and harvest, you know, ore and things along those lines. Pretty typical stuff.
Gotcha.
But I think, like, kind of like what I was saying, in the world that this, there's a mimic. In the world that this came out, and the time that it came out, I don't really fully understand what it was adding to the formula that would take somebody away from playing, say, Diablo, or playing Path of Exile, because those games are, like, constantly updated and have things going on for them at all times. That a game like this that came out, I would say, is like a standalone thing that maybe had, like, the idea of DLC eventually. I don't fully understand who it's for, or why you would play this over something else. Apparently this just takes me to my fort, so I guess my fort is just here in the overworld. I had no idea.
Did they have, like, a reasoning for
what?
The game.
Making it?
Yeah.
I mean, they had 2 successful games prior to this, and they, I'm assuming, just wanted to make another one. I don't really know why, but you know, if you have something that's going fairly well and you just keep making more of that, like, if it's the one thing that people know you for, which I can't really say that it's the one thing this dev is known for, because I really don't know if they're known for anything else, honestly speaking. But I liked Torchlight 1 back in the day, and I played through Torchlight 2 and was like, yeah, I just kind of just feel like more Torchlight 1. Didn't feel like that big of a departure that really justified its existence. And that was even whenever I was like a teenager that had all the time in the world to play games and stuff. Or like even then I was like, I don't know. And so yeah, for them to have like a Torchlight 3, and by this point like they had released Diablo on consoles, so you could play Diablo on a console. I really just don't understand, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad game. I just don't know again exactly who it is for. Any questions or anything along those lines? I gotcha. Yeah, I think I'm gonna kill this guy, and then maybe you'll try and find where this quest is telling me to go real quick, just to get an idea. But
Did the quest only give you money?
no, I mean they'll give you items and stuff, like, you know, typical quest stuff. Like you'll get some gold. You may get a potion. You may get a new weapon or something along those lines. But most of the times, in these circumstances, is the new weapon that they're giving you from the quest better than what you already have? Probably not. It can be, but dependent on the circumstances, it's probably not better. Yay. 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 Okay. I'm in Devin's Dingy Dungeon.
I read that as dingy.
Dingy Dungeon. I don't think this is where they wanted me to be. Yeah. Ooh, lucky. Wonderful. But yeah, honestly, I think that's just what we would call it. I don't really know if there's much to really go into. I think the general populace hopefully should know enough to, like, based on what they've seen already, to get an idea as to what this is. If you've ever played like an MMO even, you kind of get the idea. Because yeah, like the general gameplay for these is that, you know, as you play more and more of it, there's just more and more enemies on the screen, and preferably you're gonna have a build already that's like very good at taking out a lot of enemies at one time. It's very powerful, and you'll have a kit of armor and pants or weapons or whatever the case may be that all work together in such a way that it kind of enhances abilities to just strengthen the build that you already have, essentially. But yeah, I think that's good enough. I kind of agree. There's not much really to go into on this.
Yeah, you pretty much covered it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jose.
Not skin cheating fell so easily.